Welcome back, ghouls and goblins. I hope you're having a magical day. Thank you so much for taking the time to support the channel. In today's video, we will be discussing the top 10 commons in Dominaria United. These cards are very friendly within your budget experience if you are, a free-to-play player or someone who's just taking their time through the format, collecting, not getting right into the mass pack openings while still looking to play with some of the new cards. With that being said, the commons and furthermore in a future video, uncommons will be most readily played within draft, as well as those free-to-play budget decks. Keep this in mind as we move forward. Today we're talking about the top 10 commons. Then we talk about the top 3 historic commons and any honorable mentions. So make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. It really does help support. Here we go. Impulse. Keep in mind, these top 10s are in no particular order. However, one of the better of the bunch for 2 mana at instant speed, looking at the top 4 cards of your library, putting one of them into your hand and the rest on the bottom of your library in any order. Looking at the top 4 at instant speed for 2 mana, grabbing one. Cool beans, right? That's not bad. We love to see it. Impulse. Moving on to Bite Down for 2 mana at instant speed as well. Target creature you control deals damage equal to its power to target creature or planeswalker that you don't control. Now, this is nice because you can hit planeswalkers as well as creatures. 2 mana, instant speed. Potentially, they are targeting one of their creatures with something. You can get in as they're targeting it. It's a 2-for-1, right? We love to see that. So some very valuable plays to be seen within Bite Down. Shore up for 1 mana at instant speed. Target creature you control gets +1/+1 and gains hexproof until the end of turn. Untap it. This is very nice and has a fair amount of versatility. You can get in with the surprise block with an untap. You can have an ability creature that you activate the ability on and now untap it to activate it again, while also providing hexproof and a counter. Interesting. And then, just at the end of the day, protecting your creature with hexproof is going to be good enough as well for me without having to bounce it, without having to potentially phase it out, each with their pros and cons. And it is nice to have the option to keep it in play, just give it hexproof, and maybe even make it a little bit stronger and potentially a defensive creature as well with that untap, unless, again, like I said, you're using it in the combo fashion with the ability. Destroy evil for 2 at instant speed. We get to choose one here. Destroy target creature with toughness 4 or greater, much like Valorous Stance, right? Or destroy target enchantment. So this is very interesting. Valorous Stance is neat. However, it's mostly only played in creature decks, so you can give one of your creatures indestructible while removing one of your opponent's baddies. Destroy Evil can be run, just strictly in a control deck, right? This is creature removal. This is enchantment removal as well. So a very nice card to see at instant speed as well for 2 mana. Citizen's Arrest for 3. When it enters the battlefield, exile target creature or planeswalker an opponent controls until it leaves the battlefield. Strictly worse than Banishing Light. Banishing Light, taking any non-land permanent. At the end of the day, though, any exile in the set is pretty good. Just keep in mind, though, that if you are playing Constructed, we do have Banishing Light. However, in that limited format, I still think that this shines. Negate, something that we've seen a ton. However, just imagine a meta or, a set without negate. If we were playing in standard without access to counter non-creature spell, it would be a different world, right? So negate, a staple of any healthy meta. Stall for time. This is new. 3 mana, instant speed, kicker for an additional 2, total of 5 if you do kick it. Tap 2 target creatures. If this spell was kicked, put a stun counter on each of those creatures and draw a card. So, this does quite a bit. Tapping 2 creatures and drawing a card for 3 mana as base value. If you kick it, put a stun counter on each of those creatures. The stun counter is when they would untap, they do not untap, which is quite interesting. So it really does shut down your opponent for quite a while, and we love to see that through Stall with Time. Tribute to Urborg, 2 mana, instant speed, kicker for an additional 2, total of 4. Target creature gets -2/-2 until the end of turn. If it was kicked, that creature gets an additional -1/-1 until the end of turn for each instant and sorcery card in your graveyard. Early game, you won't need to remove something with like 5 toughness. So, -2 for 2 mana as you are curving out should get the job done, right? And then later you'll have instants and sorceries in the grave already from interacting throughout the match. This will deal more damage on curve when your opponent's creatures would be bigger. So, I love this card. I think it's really good and, definitely playable in those decks. Think of it with the Liar, right? You're filling your graveyard with the Disciple of the Drowned. You've got tons of instances and sorceries. Now you get removal, goes to the grave, removal again. I do think that this is definitely a playable card. The Viscino Branch Rider for 1 mana as a 1/1 kicker for 3 with haste. If it was kicked, it enters the battlefield with 2+1/+1 counters on it, and we can pay 3 to give it +2/+0 until the end of turn. So potentially for 1 mana, this can become a 3/3 that can push up unlimited amount of times, sinking your mana, 3 mana at a time, for an additional +2/+0. It's kind of ridiculous. It's a nice 1/1 with haste early game, and then mid game you can make it bigger. Late game you can start pushing into that mana sink for the +2/+0. Nice card, dude. And then Lightning Strike for 2 mana, 3 damage to any target. Of course, right? It's good to have you back, Lightning Strike. And then that brings us back to Impulse, allowing us to switch over now to the top 3 historic commons. The Landlord Stalker for 1 mana. This is an elf warrior. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, it gets +1/+0 until the end of turn. Maybe like in standard, or I guess even historic, rabble rousing, but that's pretty jank. The fact that it is an elf, I think, should be played in an elf deck, which exists in historic. Playing multiple elves per turn. Whenever you cast an elf, make an elf, trigger the song. It's going to be easy to put this into a 4/1. Plus, you get the Lord effects. Elves get +1/+1, so it's going to be, a 5/2, a 6/3, whatever it happens to be for 1 mana, right? So I think that's really cool. The Phyrexian Vivisector for 2 mana as a 2/2. Whenever a creature you control dies, scry 1, right? It's just a scry engine. Again, within common, pretty cool. Anytime you have an engine that's common, it is worth your time. And then Impede Momentum for 2 mana at sorcery speed. Tap target creature, put 3 stun counters on it, and scry 1. What? Settle down, right? So this is a lot of value. It really helps slow down your opponent. Tapping a creature is fine. It's at sorcery speed, so it would untap on your opponent's upkeep. So really, it's only 2 stun counters plus that turn. However, you can use it in a more aggressive deck, right, where you want to attack that turn. So casting it at sorcery speed isn't that much of a hindrance because they would be trying to block you with that attack, right? So I really like Impede Momentum there, and I believe that brings us now to our honorable mentions. Artillery Blast. This is an instant speed for 2 with Domain, dealing X damage to a target tapped creature, where X is 1 plus the number of basic lands among lands that you control. Nice removal, again, in common, which is cool, but what if they have Vigilance, right? So that's kind of why it's not the greatest. The Get To Amplifier for 2 mana, a 1/2 kicker for 3. When it enters the battlefield, if it was kicked for a total of 5, return target creature an opponent controls to its owner's hand. So, basically a bounce spell here within a creature, pretty good value. And then whenever you cast an instant or sorcery, the amplifier gets +2/+0 until the end of turn. That is not bad at all. Take Up the Shield for 2 mana, instant speed. Put a +1/+1 counter on target creature. It gains lifelink and indestructible until the end of turn. So this is really nice. I can see this definitely winning games through the instant speed interaction. Your creature survives, plus you gain a bunch of life, and now you smack them back for something that they were not expecting, right? And hopefully that is lethal. And that brings us right back to where we started. Those are all of the best commons, I personally believe, within Dominaria United. I definitely think that most of them are playable, whether they're in limited, of course, or the constructed formats within the more budget decks. And, as we've seen, like Lightning Strike and Negate, those don't just go in budget decks, right? Those go in top meta decks all of the time. So, cards definitely to be on the lookout for while you're playing your limited, and then collecting them for some of those free-to-play decks that we will come out with in the coming weeks. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. In the next video, we will be taking a look within the same format of the top 10 standard, top 3 historic, and honorable mentions but we're going to take a look at the uncommon slot. Today was commons, next is uncommons, then we're going to move into rares, and then finally mythics, and then, but wait, there's more. We'll talk about the 30 new standard decks that I've made for Dominaria United. Cheers, have an absolute magical day. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you soon in the next.